Educational, provided by Dan Collier, entitled Stepping Out.
In addition to our weekly meetings, ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters offers you a world of experience. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have had the opportunity to step out of our Sandpiper meetings and attend an area or district contest or a division conference? By a show of hands. Quite a few people have had that opportunity. Some recently, some not so recently. Well, on the advice of our Toastmaster, Jim Spencer, I attended the officer training 2 weeks ago specifically to hear the keynote speaker, the 1992 world champion of speaking, Dana Lamont. And Jim, that was excellent advice, I must tell you, because this speaker, Dana, inspired me with his speech. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to demonstrate or illustrate how he inspired me by evaluating his speech. Now, we're going to talk about the delivery, organization, and appeal of Dana's speech to that audience and to me. Beginning with his delivery. I was sitting next to Gabe Swan, and both of us looked at each other as Dana was speaking and said, my gosh, when he faces us, we feel like he's speaking directly to us. It was amazing. It was almost as if nobody else was in the room, and he was talking directly. Wasn't that true, Gabe?
Absolutely.
It was absolutely amazing. In addition to that eye contact, if you will, and we'll get to that later with some stickers there, what that's all about. Well, in addition to that, Dana used his voice. Now, there's only two other people that I've heard in public speaking use their voice as well as Dana did. That is Wayne Choate and Zig Ziglar. There is a cadence to his speech throughout that he was very intentional about, and that drew me into his speech. Now, something else that struck me in his delivery was his listening skills. You don't think of that as a speaker up here, do you? But Dana would call for a, give me an oh yeah. And sure enough, the audience would give an oh yeah, but there would be one guy in the back that kind of said oh yeah. And Dana would say, sir, that wasn't a very good oh yeah. And he would hear that from across the room, and he would pinpoint that person by facing directly at them and calling them out on their poor oh yeah. Listening to your audience, amazing. Now, when you talk about his organization, you want to talk about perfect organization. This is what a speech should be all about. He grabbed our attention at the beginning by saying, life is too short to waste time in Toastmasters. He's talking to a room full of Toastmasters. And he went on to tell us why you would not be wasting your time in Toastmasters. And he launched right into a personal story, a very, very personal story that started when he was 4 years old and grabbed our attention. And then he went into 4 organizational points. And I would not have remembered a single one of those points, excepting the fact that he put a personal story to each one of those points. And by remembering the personal story, I then remembered his 4 points. Phenomenal. And how did he wrap this up? He wrapped it up by bringing it right back to the beginning and reminding us not to waste time in Toastmasters. Absolutely phenomenal speech. Now, what was his appeal to me, and what I believe the appeal to the audience was? He threw humor into every aspect of that speech. He had punchlines. He had self-depreciation humor. He was, every moment, he was looking to get a laugh out of us intentionally. Very powerful stuff. The other thing that he did is he talked about his life purpose. The intent of his speech was meaningfulness. The 4 pillars of meaningfulness. And he talked about his life mission and, in essence, what he wanted on his epitaph. He didn't say that, but he talked about what he wanted to be remembered for. And one of the things that stuck out for me and what he wanted to remember, the appeal to me, is you want to remember for somebody who did it well or not at all. He wanted to be somebody who's remembered for doing it very well or not at all. And I will remember Dana for that, absolutely, because he did that speech very well. Now, what would I tell Dana he would need to improve? Well, here's the key. The 1992 world champion needed to improve something, didn't he? He had 4 points, not 3. Don would have just taken him down for that. Why? Because we can remember 3 points. And I would ask Dana to go back and retool his speech to give us 3 pillars instead of 4. Now, what is his strongest asset? Dana's strongest asset is that he's blind. And let me tell you something, when he said that he was asked if he could have his sight again, which he lost at 4 years old, I'm not talking shades, I'm talking white-eye blind. When he was asked if he could have his sight back, do you know what he said? He said, on one condition, if I didn't like what I saw, I could go back to being blind. That is Dana's strongest asset. He turned his liability into his strongest asset. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get the opportunity to step out of this club, seize it. Mr. Toastmaster.